2. Let's drink a cup. Okay, yeah, you're right. 1, 2. Oh, 1, 2.
Welcome to Clockmaster's Hour, a podcast connecting the past, present, and future of Caldwell County through oral history. I'm Brandon Gray, and I live in Lockhart, Texas. Today's guest is Jodi Fischer. Jodi is the pastor of Old Lytton Springs Church in the unincorporated community of Lytton Springs, about 10 miles north of Lockhart. Pastor Jodi. I just realized I never called you Pastor Jodi yet, so I was just trying.
That's what most people call me, but, well, since they've met me being a pastor, I grew up in Lockhart, so I was just always Jodi.
Yeah.
But
Someone on Facebook called you Pastor Jodi, and I was like, oh, it's got a good ring to it.
yeah, it's surreal to me, but yeah, that's my name now, I guess, my moniker.
So just to orient people, we are sitting in the Lytton Springs. Is it the Old Lytton Springs
Yes.
Church?
Old Lytton Springs Church.
And is there a denomination to this church?
We're Methodist, but we're an independent church.
Right. I realized it doesn't even say that on the front of it.
Yeah.
It just says worship.
Pretty much. Yeah. But we do, we sort of follow the Methodist tradition.
Cool. I have too many things that I want to talk to you about, so.
That's okay. I've got a lot of time.
Okay, good. But I realized today that you are my first out of Lockhart guest. And I probably should have double checked that, but yes, that's true.
Right on.
Yeah, my podcast says Caldwell County, and someone out there is going to be like, Lockhart's not everything, like.
Well, everybody's a critic in their own right. But cool, it's good you're branching out.
Yeah, and it also works because I feel like you're really connected to Lockhart also. Like, I see you going in there all the time. You're talking at commissioner court meetings, and
Yeah.
you're very involved.
I try to stay involved on the county level. I don't get too involved in like city council or anything like that because that doesn't apply out here.
Yeah.
But I moved to Lockhart in '96. I grew up on Plum Street, and so
Wow.
familiar with it.
Yeah. Okay, so you grew up in Lockhart
For about half of my childhood.
for about half of your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many interesting things about your childhood that I'm like, which one do I want to jump into? Were you religious as a youngster, or part of your family's church?
I think for me, I always had belief in a higher power. That seemed to almost be a part of me before I ever knew what religion was or what God was or anything else along those lines. My mother believes, but she does not like church. She does not attend church. She's dealt with, she doesn't like sort of the judgment that gets associated with church life.
Some people have a little religious church baggage. Like,
Yes. And my father, he was actually one of those kind of like wrathful Baptist kind of guys.
Whoa.
But ironically, he died of alcoholism when I was 9 years old.
Did you say your dad?
My dad, yeah.
Your dad?
My father.
And then your mom on the other side
Yeah.
was like,
She was faithful, but she doesn't push it on people. She's very private about it. She doesn't attend church. She doesn't do crowds.
yeah. But it was less about the religious tradition and more about the spiritual aspect of it, maybe?
My way into Christianity was very different than what most people experience.
Yeah.
In the church, we call it church shopping. I kind of church shopped for a while as a kid when we first moved to Lockhart, but it was always with my older brother. My older brother is gay, and in the 90s in Lockhart, that it really wasn't safe yet to be out in the open as a gay man or woman. And he would, he would get beat up. He would experience terrible things.
Yeah.
And, but when we were younger and we would try out different churches, he was never welcomed. And, I followed him because he was my older brother. So if he didn't feel welcome at a church, then I didn't feel welcome at a church.
Yeah.
And,
Package deal kind of thing.
yeah. And so by the time I was in my teens, I had no respect for the church. I sort of saw it as, this was my perspective as a teenager, that Christianity was a religion that was more so people trying to rack up points to get into heaven. And if there was no threat of heaven or hell, would morality and ethics still exist within Christianity?
Right. Right.
And that was a big question that I had. And I didn't believe that it would as a young girl, because you're supposed to love your neighbor, and I didn't see people loving my brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the way that I came around was when I was 20, 21, somewhere right in there. I met a Pima Indian. His name was Jimmy Bearhart. And
You had left Lockhart at this point, right?
I was living and working in San Marcos.
Oh, okay. Not too
Yeah,
far.
that's the coming of age city for Lockhart, you know.
That's the big city.
Yeah.
That are awesome, yeah.
And of all things, I was working at Planet K and
familiar.
living the life. And I met this Indian, and of all places, Red Rock. And he encouraged me to try out a sweat lodge. And I've been diagnosed with PTSD. I'm a survivor of crazy child abuse. And at that time in my early 20s, I was really dealing with a lot of mental health baggage that sort of surfaces at that time in your life.
Yeah, yeah. I'm familiar.
And so I found a sweat lodge, for me, almost the physicality of that type of worship really spoke to me.
The intensity of it, maybe, or yeah.
It was kind of twofold. One part would be the intensity of it. You're going into the womb of the earth,
Yeah.
and they use lava rocks that they pour water on to create the heat. And so you are in the earth in a way, and the heat is so intense that you can't wear metal into a sweat lodge or it'll sear your skin. I mean, it is hot beyond belief. It's amazing what you could handle
Yeah.
as an individual. But the part that I think really got to me in some ways, it was the part before the lodge. We would all gather in a circle outside of the lodge, and everyone would share what they needed prayed for, what they needed prayer for. And when you went into the lodge, you were not allowed to pray for yourself. You were only to pray for the prayers that you had heard from others. And so when you're in this really intense physical situation where it's almost hard to put into words, you really feel as if you're in the presence of God in a physical way.
Yeah.
You know that the person next to you is praying for you,
Yeah.
and you're praying for them. And you can't see them. It's pitch black dark, but you can hear their whispers, and they're praying
They're
for you.
audibly praying.
Yes, yes. And songs being sung, drums, it's very, you're completely blind. It's pitch black, but all your other senses are just awake. And some of the complaints that I had about the individualism of Christianity
Mm-hmm.
was different with the Native American church, because you're not praying for yourself. You're praying for the others around you. And it forces you to share what's on your heart with others. And
It makes you lighter too.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so I dove headfirst into that experience. And I was participating in sweat lodges, kind of ended up starting to pour sweat lodges, starting to conduct worship services. It was kind of like just one domino fell into the other.
Yeah.
And I ended up in Wounded Knee, South Dakota.
Yada.
Um,
And that's an interesting part of the story too. Let's get into it.
Well, the man that was sort of mentoring me in a lot of ways,
San Marcos, yeah.
Jimmy Bearhart, he was what you call a roadman for the Oklahoma Native American Church. And a roadman is somebody who is licensed in the United States to purchase peyote and deliver it to reservations, because for them it's a religious freedom. It's a First Amendment thing. And it's legal. And so I got licensed. He taught me how.
Yeah.
And we would drive down to Rio Grande City and purchase like a truckload of peyote buttons and deliver them to wherever they needed them.
Like your job for a little bit.
It was, yeah. And our chief lived in Wounded Knee, and he was the kind of guy, if you love stories, if you love adventure, this would be the type of person you would aspire to meet. He had been kidnapped as a young man out of a gas station by a white family, because in the 50s it was very common for young Native children to be taken from their families, because people honestly saw it as a way of saving them from reservation life.
Wow.
And he was kidnapped at 7, and he was raised in Nebraska on a ranch, and he learned all about Jesus and all about, Christianity.
Yeah.
But when the Wounded Knee uprising happened in the 70s, he was 17 years old, and he went back to Wounded Knee to help.
Wow.
In any way that he could. And they ended up assigning him with guarding the children. And this siege went on for many days. And when the bullets started flying, weeks later into the siege, he was able to get all of the children out of the gunfight without a single child getting hit by a stray bullet. And so he was recognized as having performed a miracle. and I got to go up to him and learn from him and be blessed by him. And
is he still around?
He is not. Diabetes. And rough living,
Yeah.
He wasn't a saint.
I don't want to jump the gun or reach too far, but it sounds, he had Christianity as a child, and then he reconnected with his childhood or, traditions, and you're kind of like an inverse of that in a certain way.
Exactly. And I think that he saw that. And my final conversation with him before we left to go on more adventures was, I'll never forget it. He put his finger on the table like this, and he went, "Jodi, no matter where you go in life, you'll end up back home."
Wow.
And I was, what?
Wow.
And he told me that there wasn't really much more that I could learn from him and his culture. What I needed to do was to go back home and to reconcile with the way that I had been raised and take what I had learned from him and the people that had taught me and be the Christian that I needed when I was a child.
That was kind of the next level of things, because it's, I hope this isn't a weird way to put it, but you're kind of escaping Christianity, but then there's the return to like come back to it on your own terms a little bit. Yeah.
He would sing hymns in the sweat lodge. And I can remember him saying things like, "Have you actually read the Bible? There's nothing that Jesus said that isn't right."
Yeah.
He gave wonderful advice. It's a wonderful wonderful contribution to the world. I don't know if he saw Jesus as the Son of God or a prophet or what. We never really got into it per se, but I know that he had a lot of reverence for the words of Jesus, specifically the Bible as a whole, but specifically the words of Jesus Christ. And so I've often joked around now saying, I found Jesus at Wounded Knee. I think that was my first true encounter with.
That's the title of this podcast. I found Jesus at Wounded Knee.
Right. and of course, you know, being young, and I was smoking a lot and running the roads and on adventure and everything. It took me a long time to recognize what he was saying, but I came around.
Yeah.
Like years later, but
And you were delivering peyote? Were you participating in ceremonies in South Dakota also?
yes.
Okay.
Well, everywhere.
Yeah, that was part of your life.
Pretty much anywhere I was invited.
Yeah.
That one was one of probably the most special sweat lodge that I can ever remember participating in, because we had spent 2 days there and we'd been gathering wood. A sweat lodge takes a lot of wood.
Yeah.
And sort of shoring up his sweat lodge he had in his yard, because he had been in the hospital and he had just had open heart surgery, and he had had a leg amputated, both of his legs amputated from diabetes. So he was in really rough shape.
Yeah.
But he wanted to do a sweat lodge. And so we were doing what we could to get this done, because how are you going to pass up an opportunity to do a sweat lodge with a chief at Wounded Knee?
Yeah. Don't pass that up.
Yeah. And when it came time to do the lodge, the ground was too bumpy for him to get his wheelchair across.
Yeah.
And he allowed me to pick him up and carry him over. And then I set him down on the ground, and he just kind of hopped up on the stumps of his legs and walked into the lodge. And I had just never seen, there was a lot going on with that, symbolism wise, strength, soul, you know,
Yeah.
heart. And he was just happy as he could be. He poured that lodge. That was probably the hottest lodge I've ever been. In fact, I came out sunburned, and that was the hottest lodge I've ever been in. And he was happy.
I'm going to ask you a question that's, and you've answered this a little bit, and this is maybe an impossible question, but I feel like a sweat lodge experience is a little bit beyond words in some ways, but you had good words about like feeling like in the womb of the earth. It's intense, but there's some kind of safety in that too, like the womb of the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such it's like putting the impossible into words a little bit.
In some ways it is. Your sight is taken, and you're broken down so much physically from the heat that the only thing that you have left is your emotion. And a lot of people, especially in sort of traditional white culture, in a lot of ways, we suppress our emotions. We like control and dignity and behaving a certain way.
Is it like there's something in you that gives up at a certain point?
Yes. All of that is stripped from you, because in the end, as a human, you're nothing but a soul that's inside of a shell.
Yeah, you just got to get through all this other brain stuff.
Yes. And when you only have your soul, that's your emotions and your feelings and all of those things. That's the real you. And that's what is exposed in that experience. You find yourself praying for things or thinking about things that you had forgotten.
Yeah.
Or things that you had suppressed, or
Sure.
a lot of, I witnessed a lot of Vietnam veterans would really kind of thrive in the sweat lodge because of the things that they had experienced in the war, and then coming home and not being thanked for being drafted and sent into war.
or the opposite of being thanked, or right.
Yes.
And wow, what a hard thing.
So if you had baggage, that was a good place to unload it.
Yeah. Did you feel like, so you like really connected with yourself? Did that kind of give you confidence to come back home in a certain way? Like I can go back into this place now that I really know who I am? Or was it scary also, probably, when he said it's time for you to go back home? What did that
when
feel
he
like?
said that, I knew in my heart what he was saying was true. I just didn't know how to get there. And I really, honestly, at that age, did not have much incentive.
You're like, what's waiting for me there? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, in my family alone, there's been so much brokenness and pain, bad decision making, things like that,
Yeah.
that I think in many ways I wanted to run away from that and just developed an entirely new identity that was separated from
Yeah.
everything I had known.
That's tempting. Like, makes some sense.
Yes. I was given a name in the Native American church, Star Child, and that was what I went by. Like I had this new identity, but no matter how hard I tried, that was not going to erase who I was, the name that my parents had given me, the culture that had been passed down to me from my forefathers.
Right.
And so I think what really brought me around about that was when I began to have children. I began to see the value of preserving what was good about the culture that I had been raised in, which was very Southern, very Georgia influenced. My mama's family's from Georgia, you know, singing hymns and doing chores and I don't know, gardening, you know, just all those things.
Yeah. And it's like, it's also like whether the church and the church culture is going to go on whether or not you're engaging with it, but you can kind of turn it in a way that feels more right to you. Does that make any sense? Like,
yeah, at least here in this spot.
Yeah.
I can try to be just a little more welcoming than what I experienced.
Yeah.
Try to help people a lot of people have experienced the same thing with Christianity that I did, that disillusionment. Try to help them through that. Yeah, because I think in the end, people will say they're mad at God. First, that indicates to me they still believe in God.
Yeah.
That they haven't given up on the idea that there is something out there that is beyond our understanding. I think it's okay to get mad at God. I think God can handle it.
Yeah.
He's God, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to work through it and to be honest about the experiences or the anger that you have, because even though in some ways it's a journey that never ends, it feels good to make peace with your Creator.
Yeah. Yeah.
To flourish in the person that you're supposed to be. And, you can go on a lot of adventures. You can even end up in Wounded Knee, but I think that it's easy to lose yourself in that disillusionment and to just disengage, but that doesn't solve the hurt that you experienced.
Right. And I'm thinking of what you told. I'm sorry, what was your mentor's name?
Jimmy Bearhart.
I'm thinking that you told him, like, no, read what Jesus said, kind of thing. And it's like, that's a good, I don't know, antidote to some of the.
Yeah. What I saw in a lot of ways is that some of the people who could contribute best to peace and goodwill in this world had disengaged from the church because of behaviors that they had seen in the church. Yeah. And those were some of the best candidates for spreading the good news, which is the gospel means the good news. That's what it translates to. So the more good people left that left the church, the only people that are going to be left are the extremists. And
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, yeah, that just gets scary.
exactly. And so for me, I thought, well, I have to step up and be a good Christian because we're going to lose our culture and our religion and our ways to culture wars and media and people who seek fame and fortune by means of religion, things like that. If more just normal people don't step up.
Yeah. 100%. I also want to ask you, as I said earlier, I have too many things I want to ask you about.
All right.
But I want to ask you like about the dynamics of you in your town, like in your congregation. Let's see. Yeah. We're in Lytton Springs is a small town. And do you hold on, let me search for the question here. Gosh, how would you even describe Lytton Springs?
A town in transition.
A town in transition.
Yes.
Like a lot of the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of things that should not work here.
What do you mean?
Almost all of my congregation are white, conservative, very conservative. I'm not. I mean, I'm white, but I'm not, I definitely lean more the other way. And, but we are close and we're family and they still accept me even though I'm different from them. It's the same in some of the local businesses around here. My favorite taqueria is owned by a female immigrant. She's working her tail off here to make a living. The country patio, Herbert, he does not fit in any stereotypes out here either, but they find a home here.
Yeah, I had a burger at Herb's on the way out last time, and it was very, very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some of the best burgers on the side of 183.
I'll just mention Herb is a gay black man also. Yes. And so
yes.
Do members of your congregation eat at Herb's Burger?
Oh, I think we're all loyal.
In a small town, it's like you get over that.
Yeah. Well, and like he commands respect. He kind of reminds me of Sophia in the movie The Color Purple. All my life I have to fight. And like, he'll tell you what for. You're not going to go mess with him. But he'll make you good food. And he is one of the most generous people in this community. If I needed more candy for the Easter egg hunt last year, he wrote me $100 check.
Wow.
He's too busy to volunteer, but he will donate. He'll let you put up signs at his store if you're hosting an event. He'll do what he can to support.
Yeah.
So, it's amazing to me, the cognitive dissonance, because sometimes the way people vote versus the way they treat their neighbor can be completely different, and I see that quite often. Yeah,
it's a whole other thing when you go and talk to this person face to face, and it's like, oh, they're just a person. What am I doing?
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, your congregation just respects you as obviously respects you as a pastor.
I think I had it easy because when I first showed up here, we were still part of the United Methodist Church, which is a global organization. And in this small area, they called it a district, the church had not supplied this church with a full-time pastor in over 10 years. They had basically, a way of putting it would be substitute pastors, substitute teachers, you know.
Right. They were ready for a...
And I was doing what's called pulpit supply, where if a pastor would get sick or go on vacation or something like that, they could call me. I had like 10 sermons in a filing cabinet. I'd pick one and go and preach for a day. And they ended up assigning me out here as a permanent substitute, basically. And I really took that assignment to heart. I wanted to go above and beyond. I was just so enthusiastic. And so they could only afford to pay for 2 Sundays. I knew that was going to cause the church to close. And so the other 2 or 3 Sundays, I would just preach for free. If one of them got sick, I'd go see them. I did everything in my mind that a preacher was supposed to do. But they had not been experiencing that in a long time. There's such a pastor shortage in the United States that preachers will be given 2 or 3 churches sometimes that they pastor at. They just don't have time to travel this far, go see people in the hospital, stuff like that. Well, this was my only church. They ended up offering me a second church, and I told them no, because this is
like added on?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, where I would preach here and then drive straight over to Pilot Knob,
kind of
South Austin.
Spreads you a little thinner, right?
Yeah. And so by the time the UMC did not want me here anymore, the congregation basically rebelled about it because they had not experienced
someone
a
that put their
full-time
heart into it, put the work into it, really embraced it.
Yeah,
because you were mission, or like you were here on a mission.
Yes, I had joined all these local boards. I was getting us involved in things. I was doing a lot of work for the community, and that was actually what caused our church to leave the United Methodist Church, was the way that they saw it. The United Methodist Church started in 1968. And the agreement that they make with churches, our church has been here since, I don't know, the 1800s, but this building has been here since 1920.
1920.
When we joined the United Methodist Church, the agreement was if we paid, it's called apportionments. That's the dues that you pay to the big church, the corporate church.
Yeah.
The agreement was if we paid full apportionments, we would be supplied a pastor. Well, for over 10 years, they had only had substitutes, so they weren't able to have weddings or baptisms here for 10 years. And that had really caused the numbers to dwindle down to nothing.
Only just like half a church, really. Just, I don't know.
And then the UMC turned around and said, well, your population is so small, we're considering shutting you down in 5 years because y'all don't have the numbers anymore that are attending.
Killed y'all off pretty much.
So we had... Not only had we paid full apportionments, but this church, in all 100 years of this building's existence, has never been in debt. Anytime we've ever wanted work done, we saved the money ahead of time.
Wow.
We've paid full apportionments. We had done everything we were supposed to do. And this church was designed and built by the people of Lytton Springs. The building itself was designed by Henry Brewer, who was a member of this church. And the locals built it, everything for it. And the idea that they had an organization that they had been a member of for 50 years, which was a drop in the bucket compared to the length of the existence of this congregation, that this corporation could just say, you're closed and we can sell your building and we get the proceeds. It just outraged the congregation. We were one of the only churches that had 100% vote out.
Wow.
And so yeah,
yes.
they fired me from the UMC and rehired me the same day here. And they gave me a $20 a month raise.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I've been here ever since. And it's not to down the UMC. I think there's room for reconciliation. There's always good things that can happen. It's just the congregation chose a different way forward. As one of my congregants put it, my husband, They're tired of paying for a bishop they'd never met.
Yeah. That's a good way to that sums it up, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so
You mentioned your husband. Segue.
that guy.
That guy. How is he connected to your story here at this place? Because his story here goes back and back and back.
Yes. I met him here at the church.
Mm.
And I don't know, we just kind of clicked. And he would come by here. He would bring his dog with him. I learned later he was using the dog as an icebreaker because he's quite shy, as you noticed. And he would come by here and we would just talk and talk and talk. And it kind of got to the point where it was obvious that we were both having feelings for each other. There's an age difference between us of 20 years. And one day he just asked me, what do you think of the age difference? And I told him it sucks. But it's not a deal breaker. We could just go be happy. I mean, yeah. And he approved of that answer.
It sucks.
It sucks, but it's not a deal breaker. And we went on a hike at Palmetto State Park. That was our first date. It was like in the morning. And it was just been happy ever since.
Yeah. One of the things that you told me in one of our previous conversations that I thought was really interesting. I mean, now that we've heard some of your childhood story, I don't know if you use the word drifting, but there's a little bit of driftishness, and the fact that CW has been in this place, and his parents have lived in this place, and his grandparents have lived in this place, gave you some kind of sense of groundedness.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Total opposite of what I experienced as a child. I grew up experiencing a lot of hypocrisy where, like, my father would not allow us to place a book on top of the Bible. That could get you beat. But he was a complete alcoholic who would cheat on my mother and like do all these terrible things. And I think with CW and his mother, they were probably some of the first people I had met that just very simply walked the walk. They weren't bragging about it or anything else. But at the start of a meal, they'd bow their head and pray to themselves real quietly. Just like little things like that, where they were just actually doing what they were supposed to be doing and not having any troubles.
I don't know why it's so funny that this dog here is called Pius, but anyways, there's a dog on the floor right here, and his name is Pius, and he's our friend.
Yeah, that's what Pi likes to do, is take naps.
Yeah, but so CW, just a little bit of context, is his grandparents owned the general store here? Yes, and the family has owned land for a while.
Yeah, they've been here kind of one of the founding families.
Yeah.
The line kind of snakes different ways, different last names at times, but right. The Webbs have been here since his great grandparents.
They're one of the biggies, the Webbs and the Swearingens, and
they're definitely one of the older names out here and things like that. And so at least for the people who have lived out here a long time, he's very well known. Just sort of a trustworthy fella, I guess he's seen as in a lot of ways. Yeah. He's treasurer of several different boards in this community.
And he's a math guy, right? He's an engineering or math
guy.
Yes.
I can't believe he paid for this. He majored in physics and minored in mathematics and philosophy. I can dig the philosophy, but the mathematics and the physics is beyond me.
Yeah.
But he's a UT graduate, and he's a happy middle.
And
I can get into trouble. I love adventure and following the trail and things like that. He he is grounded and he is steady, but in his own personal life, he's just wild enough where I'm not bored. He played in a rock band for a long
Yeah,
time, and he.
I don't want to make it sound like he just lived here the entire time. He went off and did like mountain man stuff.
He
and
was a
then
mountain man.
he had his own little return home, right?
Yes. Yeah. He kind of had his own journey. And I think one of the things that we bonded on in the beginning, bonded over, was my mother is sick, on and off sick. She has bad lungs. And I started having to take care of her my senior year in high school. I started having to work full time and pay bills and
In high school,
take care of her. And that was really important to me because my dad had already died. And at that age, I just could not bear the idea that I was going to lose both of them.
Yeah.
CW takes care of his mother as well. I've lost relationships over having to cancel a date because my mom went in the hospital and I needed to go to the hospital to make decisions.
Yeah.
And it's it was always sort of almost an albatross for me taking care of my mother, and CW understood because he had had those same struggles, and we kind of both just made the agreement: if your mom needs you,
It's
I'm not going to get in the way.
Yeah. It's not always the most glamorous or fun thing, but it shows what kind of person he is to.
Yeah. Well, and the burden was really on him because his dad died in his 50s. I think he was 59 of cancer, and CW is an only child, and so it's on him to take care of the family legacy and his mother and everything else. So he doesn't seem bothered by it or something. For me, I guess probably because I was so much younger when I first started experiencing responsibility. For him, he just goes with it. He just does what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, I can see that.
It doesn't. It's not something he complains about or anything. He he complains about the cows. That's about it.
This might just be more like a little side, but something that gives me a little bit of happiness is that Dee Azadian did some oral history tapes in Caldwell County in the 70s, and he recorded interviews with CW's grandparents at the time while CW was a little baby sitting in the room or youngster. And I just like that. Is it okay if this feels like some kind of continuity or something in some weird way? Not a direct one-to-one thing, but
and it's amazing
it's
how
like
those
let's
recordings,
keep telling this story a little bit.
And it's amazing how those recordings are still affecting people, because CW didn't know. He vaguely recalled, but really never registered that those recordings had happened. And a few years ago, I found them on UNT's website.
Yes.
And I was just going through the pictures, and I found these audio recordings of his parents.
You didn't know it existed at the time?
No, I had no idea. I knew the pictures existed because he has the book.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of genealogy stuff. That's how I came across UNT's historical archives. And one day I was just Lytton Springs. I typed it in the search engine, and all this stuff came up that I realized were an extension of this book.
Honey, have
well,
you seen this?
I kind of set him up in some ways. I didn't tell him that I had found all these things. And then I think it was on Mother's Day, he walked into the room and I just pressed play on my cell phone and I never said a
Just watched
word.
his face.
It was like he was hearing a ghost or something. It was his
Yeah.
grandma's voice.
Yeah.
And he loved her. He loved both of his grandparents, but he called her Gran, his Gran in
Yeah.
particular.
Just like the sound of, I remember I asked him like, what made an impression? And he said the sound of her voice. And like, yeah, that makes sense. It's the sound of their voice that kind of,
Yeah, it deeply affected him.
Yeah.
And not just the sound, but sort of the character of that
right.
voice.
The whole, yeah.
A lot of the Texas accent isn't as strong in people anymore. You could hear it in her.
It gets stronger when you go back. a little bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it just brought back wonderful memories. I was so happy for him because what I would give to hear my pawpaw's voice,
Yeah.
it was such a gift, and I'm so thankful to this person I've never met, Dia Zadian, for recording these things that could be brought to life in the future again.
Yeah, I'm clipping that soundbite and sending it to him. So,
Awesome.
man, I've gotten to hit a lot of the things that. Oh, here's a light one. What are some of your favorite hymns? And I gotta be honest, I've never been to a Methodist church, and I don't know what the crossover. I grew up Church of Christ. Is there much crossover with like? Do y'all sing old hymns or new hymns?
It really depends on the church and what their flavor is.
Yeah,
Here they like the old traditional.
I kind of do too. Like,
Yeah. This is going to sound probably crazy. I remember a woman saying once that there were two types of Christians. There were the type of Christians that liked the morning is broken kind of vibe. That hymn, morning is broken.
like the cat.
Yeah, right? Yeah, yeah. And then there was the toiling Christians
Yeah.
that
Um,
gravitate toward those,
What's the song? Yeah, but I know what you're talking about.
the hymns that are reflective of a harder life. In some ways, I've always gravitated toward those hymns.
Sorry, which?
Precious Lord, Take My Hand is one of my favorites. What Wondrous Love Is This? A lot of the African American hymns. I think because of experiences that I've had in my life, I understood what it was to not lose yourself in spite of what's around you. And song is part of that. And so, yeah, several of those. And one that's it's not an African American hymn. I think I just like it because I'm of Irish heritage. I really love "Be Thou My Vision."
Oh, me too. Yeah.
It just speaks to my heritage.
This is so right. Oh, you're good. This is so hipster, but have you heard the Sufjan Stevens version of?
No,
It's good, awesome.
you'll have to send it to
But
me.
no, there's lots of good. There's a good Van Morrison version of that.
Oh, I love
that
Van
hymn.
Morrison.
Yeah, that's
But-
one of my favorites too.
I really gravitate toward a lot of the hymns that were from around the 1870s through the 1920s.
Yeah, I like
Oh.
Come Thou Fount is
Come Thou Fount is absolutely one of my favorites. I've got the number memorized and everything. A lot of I'm trying to. I'd have to let me grab the hymn real
we
quick.
have a hymnal right here.
Yeah.
Holy, holy, holy is good.
Holy, holy, holy is good. That's
Well,
actually usually one of the favorites. That's a good opener.
Or maybe I just like the Sufjan Stevens. All right. Anyways.
That one's one. If that one's one we're singing, it's always one that opens up church. You know, because we start with
Yeah.
a song,
Yeah.
and singing is a huge part of the Methodist Church. And I love that part. He Leadeth Me is one of my favorites. One that's not as well known, but definitely one of my favorites is we just sung it last week, and I'm blanking out on the name. Lord, whose love and humble service. Even though it's not as well known, I'll be forcing my congregation to sing it because
You can do that. Yeah.
to me it's almost like it gives me direction. It's one thing to sort of let out your emotions in hymns, but this one gives a lot of advice. Lord, whose love through humble service bore the weight of human need, who upon the cross forsaken offered mercy's perfect deed. We, your servants, bring the worship, not of voice alone, but heart, consecrating to your purpose every gift that you impart. And this is my favorite verse here. Still your children wander homeless, still the hungry cry for bread, still the captives long for freedom, still in grief we mourn our dead. As, O Lord, your deep compassion healed the sick and freed the soul, use your love, your spirit kindles, to save and make us whole. You know, go out and love your neighbor, cook a meal for somebody.
All right, I think there's only one thing that I really want to talk to you about, and then let's see, we've done about an hour. Do you feel? I mean, you obviously being a pastor is an honor, but there's also like I'm thinking of two things at once. You needing to be emotionally there for people, and people have asked you recently to be a death doula. Is that the right word for it? Is that something that it's okay to talk about?
I mean, that's part of being a pastor, is to help lead somebody through that part of their life.
Yeah, there's some heavy parts of this job. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had experienced a lot of death at a young age. I think the one that was probably most significant was my father's mother. I had only ever met her once, and she was just this very proper, physically beautiful, glamorous woman. And I was living in Alexandria, Virginia with my dad at the time, and things were really, really bad. He was in the final stages of his alcoholism. He was very physically abusive, very mentally abusive. I was experiencing things like he would lock me in the bathroom and take the light bulb out and leave me there for several days with no food. Like insane levels of abuse. And then just kind of out of nowhere, he said that she had lung cancer. She was dying. She needed a place to go. She was going to come live with us. And she got my bedroom. And when I met her that second time, she had no hair. She was thin. She just looked so different. And I don't think my dad could handle what he had been called to do.
Oh, right.
And he just basically stayed in his room the whole time. Yeah. And she was alone. I was 8 years old at that time. And I went into her room, and I remember saying, "Hi, Grandma." And she put her hand out and she patted me and she said, "Call me Grandmother Eve." And the first thing she did was she asked me if I knew how to cross stitch, and I told her, "No, ma'am." And she said, "When I get better, I'll teach you." And I knew she wasn't going to get better. And sorry.
Oh, no.
If you saw my Facebook, I actually went to her grave for the first time about 2 weeks ago. So it's been on my heart. So I stayed with her, and I would read to her out of the Bible, and such childish things too. I'd ask her, "What story do you want me to read?" She'd say, "Just read one you like." And I'd read like the nativity scene.
Yeah.
You know.
Classic.
Yeah. And I'd read to her out of Reader's Digest. And for me, it was a temporary escape from the abuse that I was experiencing. But I also knew at the same time that she was dying. And there was nothing that could be done about that. And I would just spend all day with her. speaking with her and just being with her. Sometimes I just sat in there so she wasn't alone, because I don't think anyone should have to walk that part of their journey alone.
Yeah.
Even a horrible person, because how you treat someone in those final days and hours just may be what gets them to say sorry. And so I stayed with her, and then one day my brother and we went into her room and she was dead. And it was a week later. She lasted 1 week. And we went and got Dad, and we were ushered out of the room, sort of thing. My granddad was there, her ex-husband, and he took us out for ice cream. And when we came back, she was gone, and we never heard anything about it again. It wasn't acknowledged. I wasn't told where she was buried. I wasn't told anything. And that had always left a huge mark on my character, watching that happen. And I never realized how much it affected me until, as a preacher, I became called to help people with funerals. And the first funeral that I got hired to do was by McCurdy's, and it was a young father who had been killed in a car wreck. And
A heavy one.
yeah, I thought I was going to get somebody out of the Golden Age home or something.
Right.
My very first funeral was this tragedy. And I remember I was so nervous at the idea of bringing calm and peace to this situation. Who was I to do that? I had a lot of struggles with my worthiness and my ability to do it. I remember I was actually sick to my stomach the morning of that funeral. But as God has tended to do in my life, he kind of dumps me in the deep end of the pool first.
Yeah.
And somehow I swam.
Yeah.
And I did it, and I knew when that funeral was over. I don't want to say this in a bragging way. I don't mean that.
Can I say it for you? You're good at it. You are good at it.
I had this gift
Yeah.
where I understood suffering, and I allowed people to have that space to suffer with dignity.
Yeah.
Instead of telling them things like, well, they're in a better place now. You know?
Right.
And those
Just
cliche things that we tell each other when
Yeah.
someone has died. I came at it from a much more human standpoint.
Yeah, I feel like when someone dies, you can either get real distant or you can get really close. Like in,
Yeah. Yeah. And so recently, it was an older couple. They had been married 63 years, and she passed away. I blessed her and sort of helped with some of that in the end. And then there was a delay from the funeral home in picking up her body. She died in her living room, and it actually took the funeral home 5 hours to get there. And that was traumatizing for the family because of what happens.
over 5 hours.
Yes, in those following hours. And her husband was just devastated. And I remember I just sat next to him, and I just held his hand, and I just never said a word. I just held his hand,
Yeah.
and that seemed to be enough. And he died exactly 1 week later. And I actually did their funeral just last Saturday. That was my first double.
Oh, wow. Man.
But it's hard to put words to that. It's not a joy. It's not something that necessarily makes me happy, but it is an honor, and it's some strange calling that I had in life to help people who are in those final days and hours, and to help the family. And I acknowledge that gift, not because it makes me special or it makes me gifted. It is something that was given to me from my Creator to help other people. And that is the highest calling. That's when you're sort of being your true self. When you find those gifts that you've been given that you didn't earn, you have to use it. That's your duty at that point.
Yeah, that's not bragging. That's just the way it is. Like, you're just, everything in your life kind of set you up in different ways to be.
Yeah. And I used to be angry at the thought of, well, you went through these hard times so that you can be the person that you are. And it's what makes you. No, I went through those hard times because my dad was an alcoholic and my mom had a broken picker when it came to men.
Yeah.
Because I had stepdads too. I mean, it was a whole thing. But
let's not sugarcoat it or whatever.
Yeah. No, bad things don't happen because of God. Bad things happen because as humans, we mess up. God has an ability to bring good out of those situations. And I think that's what's happened in my case. This suffering that I went through as a child enables me to understand it in a way that some people don't.
Yeah.
But I've never liked the idea of, I don't know, just a lot of those cliche Christian things that came out of the 70s and 80s revival in Christianity that there was in the United States. You know, they're not suffering anymore. They're in a better place. And I don't know, just these things we say to each other that hurt.
Yeah, it feels, some of those cliches feel like emotionless or like just a way to avoid feeling emotions or something.
Yes. Yeah. And in the end, they're quite painful. Who wants to be told that child abuse was part of God's plan? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so I'm not happy that I went through any of that. But when it comes to my dad, when I look in the mirror, I see his face. And I have his charisma, his singing, his voice. There are so many things that I am that are from him. And I had a hard time with that idea growing up until, this is going to sound so nerdy. This is like so nerdy. Lord of the Rings.
I'm familiar, yeah.
Okay, there's this scene in Lord of the Rings where Gandalf the Grey comes back as Gandalf the White. And he says these words, I'm not Saruman, I am as Saruman should have been. And this like one line.
I'm going to say a nerdy thing. Is that in the book or the movie?
That was the movie. I can't remember if it was the book or not because it's been a long time.
Okay, I had the... Sorry.
Yeah, but it's when he comes back and Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli are like, whoa.
No, but that line wasn't in my head, and I like that line a lot.
Yes, and that this one like small overlooked line in this massive epic of a movie changed my life because I suddenly realized I am my dad. I am him as he should have been.
Whoa. Yeah.
And whatever reasons he couldn't reach his potential were on him. But I was going to use every part of him that was in me to worship God and serve my neighbors and redeem whatever mess up that he had led our family into. Yeah. I have 6 siblings. Yeah. All of us have been in trouble. All of us have had our trials and tribulations. But at least on this branch of the family tree, it won't continue.
This podcast is produced by Graybeard Films and made possible through the support of Go Back to California. If you have feedback or a suggestion of someone you think should be interviewed, you can reach me at brandon@graybeardfilms.com. For updates, bonus clips, and more stories from Caldwell County, follow Lockhart Bits and Pieces on Instagram. Until next time.